What I'm going to do is to talk to you first about yourself, about your hockey school. When did you start playing hockey?
I didn't actually personally play hockey properly until I was about 15. But hockey, my mum and dad had played a lot of hockey. My mum, actually, she's nearly 70 now, but she's only just stopped coaching hockey, so hockey's not done. But I was a footballer first, came to hockey later.
Which was your first club?
My old school club, so I went to a school called Borden Grammar School, so I played for the Albanians club. The two clubs I played for, well, the three clubs I played for, most were schools still. Albanians and then
When did you get the England job?
Well, I was appointed as a Great Britain coach in 2003, so I took the group to Athens, and then shortly after that I became the England coach. There was no England coach whilst I was Greek coach because there was no England programme. It was an Olympic cycle. So I've basically been a coach since 2003.
Good. And who was your first coach as a player? Can you remember?
Well, I remember my school coach, although we didn't do a lot of coaching back then, a guy called Bob Smith. Internationally, my first coach was, who was the international coach in 89?
When?
89? That one we had lots of different ones.
I can't remember the talk. It wasn't Dancer by any chance, was it?
Oh no, I had my first international cap when I was 19 at 1989.
Norman Hughes. Okay,
yeah. Norman Hughes was my first international cap.
Bernie Cotton, Norman Hughes.
Oh yeah, okay. And can you remember your first goal?
My first goal, I got my first caps in 89 and I had to wait another 2 years to get my next cap, and I scored 2 against Germany. My first GB cap at the Champions Trophy in 91.
So when did you get your first break at international level?
I got my first cap at 19 at 1989.
Norman Hughes, Bernie Cotton were the team at the time. Okay. And how did you feel just before the first international, the night before?
I was, as John will tell you, I was very laid back as a teenager and young man, so I was very relaxed. I tended to be. Even now, I think in comparison to a lot of the coaches, I seem to be a lot more relaxed than they are.
And how did you feel after the match?
It wasn't a big thing for me. I like to just do a good job, and I find satisfaction in as many other ways as I do from playing and coaching hockey. So it didn't. I probably feel more satisfied with being a good father than I did being a hockey player.
Did you feel that you were a better player after the first match?
No.
No, you didn't.
I didn't think I would. Personally, I don't think I became a good hockey player until I actually retired playing internationally and became a player coach in my late 20s.
It's very good. What stands out in your memory as a player?
Well, I was lucky. I was very lucky that I went to 2 Olympics, so 92 Olympics and 96 Olympics. I was very lucky, and they stand out as events. Unfortunately, I was very injury prone. I tore my hamstring 15 times during my international time, so I actually was always in and out. So most of my international career was just mostly frustration.
When did you start coaching?
Well, in England you had to find jobs, well not in my generation, you had to find jobs that would allow you to play whilst you had quite a busy international calendar with no financial support. So I've just graduated at Loughborough University and they offered me a job coaching the university teams and lecturing and doing postgraduate studies. So I actually started coaching when I was 23.
That's very young, isn't it? Very young. And you didn't coach any other club apart from?
I coached Loughborough students for a long time. When I started there in the lowest league that you could be, and when I finished, we lost the final of the Premiership, so we ended up being the second best team in the country. You could argue that year. So, but after that, I was straight into. Actually, I was overlapped with already being involved in international coaching.
Can you tell me more about your job description as a coach? What do you do?
I spend most of my week actually sitting at my desk.
Really?
Yeah. planning, just planning programming, planning service provision, writing to people to ensure that delivery is being made as appropriately being made, because the players live around the country and people are delivering to them in different locations. So I probably, most of my time, I feel like I'm an administrator.
Who sets the goals for you? Or
Basically,
the team?
we have goals set by our funding agents for UK sport, of course, and England hockey has its own ambitions, but the real targets for the group are set by the group itself.
Alright. So you don't have targets yourself to set them?
My aspirations, I'm a kind of internally motivated person, so by nature targets don't sit well with that type of motivation structure. For me, I just want us to do a good job and go beyond our capacities and continue to grow as a group and individually and collectively. But of course, targets do help. We're aspirational at the moment. We want to try and get a medal in London. But 4 years ago, we were trying to just move up the rankings and move up the standard of our play.
How much time do you spend on the pitch with the players?
At the moment, we have them, because it's inside, we consider this to be a season. They're with us 3 days a week on the pitch, and out of season we'll have them 4 days a week.
How much hockey has changed since you played?
Well, the offside line killed me off, because physically it became much more difficult. And I think, personally, even though I like the game as it is as a spectator event without offside, I think it's not as pleasant a game to be involved in for the ordinary man. It's so much faster, and I think there's so much pressure to make it faster and faster. I do think the international game is going away from the grassroots of the game. I'm not sure that I'm entirely in favour of that. It's changed a lot.
If you had to change two things in hockey, what would you do?
Well, at the turn of the 19th century, I'd have made sure that hockey was considered being a spectator event worldwide. And I think it wasn't mistakes. The choices that were made 100 years ago have actually significantly impacted on the games today.
How do you deal with criticism?
Luckily for me, I've had a lot of it in my time, so I've just learned to become thick-skinned, and we judge our interventions with the group, our work, by the by the reflections of how we do, with a rational mind frame and what the players say.
Does it hurt you? Do you lose sleep over it?
I lose sleep before games, trying to make sure that we're doing things right. I don't tend to lose sleep afterwards. Personally, I think hockey's just a game of stick and ball, and there are a lot more things in life that are more important.
If you had to criticise a player, how would you go about that?
Depends who they are.
Okay. And then, say somebody is very sensitive.
There's some of the players that I can be very straight with and just say it straight, and they want it. There's some of them that you have to be very mindful how you say it. There's so many different vehicles to do it, whether it's video or discussion or peer group feedback or on the pitch or meeting discussion. It's very much per person.
What's the selection procedure? How do you select players?
The coaching staff pick the players.
How much say do you have?
It's all our say.
And who picks the captain?
The staff.
The staff.
Occasionally we provide that opportunity to the players, but I'm often reluctant to allow that.
When you say staff, who do you mean?
All the staff.
That's assistant coaches?
Yeah.
The selectors are there?
We don't have selectors.
So it's assistant coaches, you, the manager?
Yeah, sometimes the medical staff, because they see them in different environments and know how that they get on with the other player groups.
How much psychology is involved in hockey?
There's a lot of psychology, if that is the science of the mind, of course, and the use of the mind to perform. Psychologists are expensive. We're lucky that we have a company called Lane 4 in England that are actually a sports business consultancy that are predominantly of sports psychologists. Adrian Morehouse is a famous gold medal swimmer who's actually his company, so Lane 4 is the lane that he won his gold medal in, and they work with our group, but we don't pay them. We can't afford them.
When you coach England and then you coach GB, do you have the same principle or do you have a different approach?
It's mostly the same, because the vast majority of the players are England, and our kind of our structures are based around England. But we do flex with new players coming in. So when we have different Scots or Welshmen coming in, we flex because they provide us new and different resources. So we flex with them.
So when I came to England in the 70s, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, we had quite a few Asians, and we had a very strong team called London Indians, and I was very fortunate to captain that for 7 years. And why do you think there are not any more Asian players in the fold? What's your thinking on that?
Well, it's a huge generalisation, but there is quite a lot of research into that question in generic sport terms in the UK. So it's not a hockey answer, it's a generic sports answer, and a lot of that research is suggesting that the British Asian culture is actually much more progressive in terms of career and academics, and sport as a consequence is now falling down in there in terms of priorities.
If there is a potential player, and what would you advise them?
They'll work hard, really. I think England has got a lot of good structures, so as long as you're working hard, you're focusing on your performance, then there'll be opportunity.
Yeah. And what's your best moment as a coach?
Well, interesting. I mean, most people would say winning the Europeans because it was the only thing England have ever won. First gold medal. Well, that's a lie. England, on behalf of Great Britain, won the 1908 Olympics. So it was 90 years between gold medals. Most people would assume that, but I actually personally feel we played much further above our capacities in Beijing and here.
And your worst moment?
There's nothing really that bad. We've had some poor performances. Nothing that I feel like I would class as a worst moment. It's hard to say, really.
I spoke to a couple of fans, and I asked one lady, what question would you like to ask Jason Lee? And she said, ask him to smile more. What are you going to say to that?
I'm smiling on the inside. I've got one of those faces that when you're thinking, apparently I look miserable, but I don't feel it.
In my time, good looks used to get into the national side. What do you think my chances are? And if the criteria is the same.
Well, the criteria isn't, but unfortunately they're very slim on that criteria. As are mine, I might add.
Okay, thank you very much. It's lovely talking to you.
Right, good luck with it.
Thank you.